Well, tonight was a hard-fought victory. I give Bakersfield a lot of credit. They played extremely hard. We knew they would. Watched them a lot last year in the non-conference, and it's one of the reasons we elected to play them, because I think they have aspirations of returning to this year's NCAA tournament like they were a year ago. Jalen Arrington was spectacular. His 25 shots. It's hard to get 25 shots up in a college game, especially against a man-to-man team. But, the fact his team had 66 and he had 31 of the 66, I think we'll learn more and more as we watch film. But there's a lot of lessons for our team to learn. But we played tonight's game with 10 players from a year ago who are no longer with us. It's very hard to even put 5 out there when you lose 10 in 1 year. There aren't too many programs in the country that are going to lose 10 players. So we're doing the best we can with the situation we're in. Tonight we had 7 scholarship players. I thought for about 24 of the 40 minutes, we were really disciplined on some things that we need to do to be successful in that situation. And then fatigue sets in, and they really wore us down. It was a wearing down effect, and I think that's to their credit. They played 10 guys. We had 7, and you get a couple guys in foul trouble. You have to realize we were playing 4 front court players out there a couple times. We only have 3 guards on our entire team right now. So, I think both of them, 2 of the 3 had 4 fouls. So, there's a situation, if you look at that if, let's say, 2 of those 3 would foul out, you could actually play with 1 guard and 4 front court players. With no subs. We played Paulo tonight, and we're going to continue to get Jake, Tyler, and Paulo ready so that if called upon, they can help our depth and maybe get us through certain segments of the game.
What's Kadeem? Did Kadeem's knee flare up at all after Friday, or what's his?
He got injured in the game against Michigan State, and to his credit, he really gutted it out, but. I don't really know a timeline or prognosis. We're taking it in like 2 or 3 day increments, hoping that the swelling is okay. He doesn't have any structural damage. There's no surgery needed, but he's unable to play at this point.
So is this the Lowry we're expecting to see, or you're expecting to see more often?
Yeah, Lowry's one of the best players in college basketball. He is. He's a monster. He can put it on the floor. He's a great free throw shooter. He's a 7-footer who's playing the small forward position. He guards perimeter players. He guards post players. He plays 3 positions for us. He inbounded the ball against full court pressure. We called his number in moments, winning moments, about 7 or 8 times in a row. And I would say that on every one of those, he answered the bell.
He also plays beyond his years. Is that because of where he's come from, or how he's...
Very well coached. I think he clearly knows how to play the game. And Lowry's strong. He's not skinny. He's not thin. He's 18 years old, but physically he can take a pounding, and I think that really shows because he doesn't appear to be 7 foot because he's not a rail thin 7-footer. He's built. But his pull-ups that he made tonight, watching him go to the foul line under pressure. He's a special player.
And that was especially evident, I guess, when they cut it before, and he kind of took things on his shoulder there for a while. What does that say about a kid that young who does that?
He's really good. He's really good. He's a heck of a player. He's every bit the kid in person, student. I don't think he's got a B at Arizona. And practice-wise, he's consumed with becoming a great player. He's one of our team's hardest workers. Early to practice, most of the time is going to stay after. Just so glad we have him.
Coach, given the versatility of your bigs, is going 4 big guys on the floor something that you're strictly doing because of the lack of numbers, or is that something you want to revisit moreover?
No, we can move Lowry around, but he's really the only one. We like our big guys. I think they all complement each other. One of the players who doesn't get a lot of accolades, but, man, he really does some great things for us is Keanu Pinder. Does the dirty work, offensive rebounds, defensively. He has a quickness about him that I think is different than our other post players. Obviously Chance keep in mind, in fairness to Chance, he didn't play in either exhibition game, so this was only his second game of the year. I think the best is yet to come for him. One thing that's unique about it is we played against really three teams that press, deny 40 feet, 50 feet, trap, and so it's made our offense play a certain way. I liked a lot of things, like, for example, we had 13 turnovers. We had 4 in the first 4 minutes of the game. So we played the rest of the game with 9 against that type of team is very good. And then we fatigue and just, a couple young guys making some tough plays maybe at the end. Maybe we turned it over a couple more times down the stretch. But for the most part, I thought we did a real good job taking care of the ball against that type of pressure with only 3 guards. 2 of the 3 are freshmen, Kobe and Raleigh. And I thought in many segments of the game, both guys were terrific. We called Kobe's number after a timeout, made a really strong drive and finished, and converted the 3-point play.
Raleigh likes, you can tell he likes to get to the basket. He's physical, can get to the basket, but he showed some range tonight with his jumpers. Just your thoughts on him kind of being that guy?
He's a streaky shooter, but he's a much improved 3-point shooter. Tonight, if he gets his feet set, it's a great shot for our team. And he may have taken one ill-advised 3, but the ones that he took when his feet were set, I mean, those are great shots. And I think all of these guys will settle in with more game experience.
I was going to go there. In his penetrations, because you can tell he can get to the basket, maybe he needs to temper that or something. There's something.
Teams are drawing the charge. We've worked with him on that, but there's nothing like game experience. When they constantly draw the charge on you in a game, it's the best way of learning. So, part of tonight is getting these guys pressure minutes of meaning, heavy minutes, playing through fatigue. We can practice all we want, but there's nothing like learning by being out on the court. So if there's a silver lining right now in our situation, it's the amount of minutes that these guys are able to play here early on. I think it'll prepare them for what's to come.
And good to be in a close one rather than a blowout because you get that experience.
Not really. No, I mean, we'd have much preferred to have a bigger lead. But to your point, there are a lot of situations that happened in the game that we were able to learn from, for sure. Even Parker, Parker has never been in the game for that long of a period of time under that pressure. And to play 34 minutes with 2 fouls, he learned to play the last, 8 or 10 with 4 fouls. That was great experience for him to be able to do that. I thought he did a great job. Some of the plays that Lowry made were a function of Parker making the right decision to get him the ball.
Was most of that big run of theirs fatigue on you guys' part?
I don't want to do. I mean, I thought they hit a run offensively that was spectacular, and Arrington was involved with a lot of it. I mean, his drives. A lot of times 3-point shooters aren't as good inside the arc. I thought they made some really key pull-ups to keep them going. But they full court press. That's their system. We knew ahead of time it was going to be a tough game, especially with the shortened bench. And I'm thankful to have learned a lot about our team and still have won.
What goes through your mind when the guys fall on the floor? I mean, every time that somebody falls on the floor, tonight Chance did, I think it was in the playground.
Yeah.
It just, you can't afford anything else to happen.
Yeah, one guy told me this one time, and I'll never forget because it really bothered me when he said it because it's so negative. But you ask the question, why us? Well, why not us? Almost like, yeah, another guy could get hurt. It's a terrible way of looking at things, but we can't think that way. I'm going to flip it and say, optimistically, I hope things go in our favor of being able to get a couple guys back. Kadeem's number 1 right now because. I don't think he has an injury that's going to take him a long time to get back, but we're certainly not going to lose sight of the big picture and rush him back. But Kadeem's he would like to play right now. He can't.
Coach, how many guys at this level have you coached or seen of his size that can run the court with and without the ball like Lowry can? 7 foot.
I've never seen it. I mean, I'm just calling it like it is. I was the coach of the under-19 Team USA team, and I think that there's some phenomenal players that were part of that group. A lot of names that you guys know. They're no better than him. He just really knows how to play. He's strong, and like you said, it's almost like he has a game of a 6'7" forward, He just happens to be 7 foot. And he's going to do nothing but get better because he's about the right things. And it's so refreshing to see somebody as talented as he is be so about the team, such a hard worker. You know, it makes life easy for the coach. You know, Aaron Gordon was a lot like that as a very talented freshman, but he just had the right demeanor and attitude. And that's why his teammates respect him so much, you know, and Lowry's the same way.
It's starting to go up a little bit, but do you still have to remind him to be aggressive and take more shots?
I do, but tonight he took a step forward in that. I think he recognized that we were in search of some shots. You guys got to realize, with our situation, it isn't like we've had, you know, years of work when he's at the 3. We started our season, he got no repetitions at the 3 at all. Everything was to play him both at the 4 and the 5. This has just been something that just happened on the fly. So a lot of what you're watching him do and watching our team go through is we're playing a group that hasn't practiced very much together. So it's like if you have a 7-footer at the 3, you could say, Coach Miller, you're doing a poor job of getting him the ball around the basket. You're right. We're not there yet. I think when you watch us continue to develop, Friday, for example, I think we'll have the opportunity maybe to get him the ball in that situation better when he's at the 3. When he's at the 4 and 5, we're a little bit more at ease because everybody who's out there with him has seen that for 30 practices. So that's part of what the injuries do. They take you out of sync as a group, not just the player you're missing, but everybody's affected by that one player that's missing, especially somebody like Kadeem because, as you know, he might be our most important player based on what he does both on defense and on offense. And Kadeem's the same way. Like against Michigan State, he played the 3. He played the 3 with no practice at the 3. So more practice, the more time. Hopefully we can get Kadeem back. I think things will settle in. And, you know, we're not, you know, got our fingers crossed that we can get a good stretch of health.
If you describe Raleigh as a streaky shooter, how would you describe Lowry then?
Lowry's an outstanding shooter. Very consistent from the foul line. He's consistent from 15 to 17 feet. And he's consistent from the 3. It's just up to us to just make sure that he gets good looks. And, you know, we made a couple plays late in the game. They were so worried about him that his teammate drove to the basket and scored a layup. That was because of him. You know, there was no help. They were scared to help. And again, as we learn to get him the ball closer to the basket to exploit his size, I think will be an even tougher matchup.
With Raleigh, with some of the charge stuff, how much of it can you teach him as far as like body control, and how much of it is it just unfair because of the way he's built and how?
No, he can definitely control it, and he has to adjust. And for the most part tonight, he did. He just got him at some tough times, maybe late in the game. But he'll learn from film. And, you know, we just got back from Hawaii, and it's been kind of a whirlwind because we've got back from Hawaii, and then Kadeem wasn't with us. So, again, you know, just giving ourselves time to teach him to learn. But, you know, a big reason why we won tonight is Kobe and Raleigh combined for 28 points. I mean, that's not easy. They were 5 for 9 from 3, 9 for 13 from the line, 7 rebounds, 28 points, 4 assists. They both played over 30 minutes. So Kobe and Raleigh were a big reason we won as well.
Coach, with everybody having to maximize their play, what are your thoughts on Doosan, the way he's performed the last 2 days or 2 games, especially against? I know by Michigan State standards, they're a shorter team than they normally are, and then against this undersized line.
You know, Doosan's doing fine. You know, we're always on him to make sure he defensive rebounds. You know, you always learn more when you watch the game a second time, but I would say a big part of Bakersfield's run in the second half was a flurry of second shots. We got the stop, and sometimes we really made them work, and they missed a shot in the last 10 or 15 seconds, but they got a second shot and a renewed possession, and that turned into a three-point shot or a foul. You know, our big guys got to do a great job of rebounding. You know, all good teams, they don't give you second shots. But, you know, Doosan's gonna be fine. One of the things I've learned with him is confidence is really big. He's our starter for a reason. He didn't play as well against Michigan State. Thought he played better tonight. And I think he'll keep getting better.
What do you tell the walk-ons when you gotta put them in the game?
Be ready, number one, and then just, do your job. We don't need those guys to make offensive plays. Paulo did a really good job, I think, in the second time he came in, just killing a couple minutes, allowing one of our starters to take a deep breath, play through foul trouble, and we'll learn to trust him more as again, Paulo hasn't practiced a whole lot with, team one or team two. So a lot of his role in practice is to make our team better. Now we're going to give him a different role where we're going to give him some game reps, and that'll help him. Ditto for Tyler and Jake. Their number wasn't called tonight, but it could get called on Friday. So, we're asking everybody to be ready. And I think we're going to probably add one more walk-on. Dylan Smith was in a 3-on-3 drill, and he's the first player I've seen to slip and hit his head and get a concussion. So he's not practicing now either, which is amazing. It was almost like ice was on the court. So we're without him, and I don't know when he'll return to practice. So he's a big part of what we're doing because he's a scholarship player that practices every day, and he's a good player. So got to get him back as well.
When did that happen?
2 or 3 days ago.
Adding a walk-on now, you have a tryout, do you have anybody in mind?
We've already had a tryout, and I think we'll follow that tryout up with maybe trying to add one more.
What was the explanation you got? Parker's flagrant.
I'm not so sure. I actually like it. It's 2 technicals in 2 games he's gotten. I'm always on him to have that. I told Parker, you got to play with a chip on your shoulder. He's just doing what the coach asks. I'm not sure. We don't want any of our players to get a technical, but you know what? Parker has a different seat on the bus, and there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of toughness to you and obviously keeping that under control. But, hey, he had 2 people denying him. He had traps. They picked him up full court for 40 minutes, and he played with 4 fouls. And he played 34 minutes. Believe me, if you look at him right now, he's as tired as he's ever been. There's a big difference playing 34 minutes and 28. Big. I mean, like, it does things to your body that you can't imagine. So, we have to watch him as well. He's important, and we're going to need him on Friday to do the same thing.
They didn't announce that, and then it says there's no technicals. Was it intentional?
It was a flagrant one.
Flagrant one, so, yeah.
I think they said elbow, but I mean, if he elbows somebody, he can't hit him above the shoulders because he's not big enough. So I'm gonna take a look at that one. Okay. Yep. Thank you.